Every night, as the body finally lies still, the feet quietly reveal the story of the day: gravity, circulation, inflammation, and fatigue all settling downward. Swollen feet are not just a symptom, they are a message from the vascular and lymphatic systems asking for guidance before sleep resets the body. Foot swelling is largely a quiet negotiation between gravity, circulation, and time. Throughout the day, blood and lymph are constantly pulled downward, especially into the feet, where the vessels are smallest and the pressure is greatest. Veins must work against gravity, relying on one-way valves and muscular movement to return fluid upward to the heart. When standing or sitting for long periods, this system slows, allowing fluid to seep into surrounding tissues. By nightfall, the feet often carry the weight of this physiological compromise, not as a disease, but as evidence of mechanical strain and adaptive limits. Sleep, however, offers a unique biological window, because the body naturally shifts from outward activity to inward repair, and circulation becomes more receptive to subtle support. Cypress essential oil fits into this process not as a cure, but as a biological signal. Traditionally associated with vascular support, Cypress contains compounds that interact with smooth muscle in blood vessel walls. When applied topically in small amounts, such as 5 diluted drops, it may encourage gentle vasoconstriction where vessels have become overly relaxed from prolonged pressure. This tightening is not harsh or abrupt, it is more like reminding tired vessels of their original tone, helping them regain structural integrity so fluid is guided back into circulation rather than leaking into tissue spaces. In this way, Cypress works with physiology rather than overriding it. There is also a neurological dimension to this interaction. The skin is not passive. It is a sensory organ rich in nerve endings that communicate directly with the autonomic nervous system. The aroma and sensation of Cypress can subtly shift nervous system balance toward parasympathetic dominance, the state in which digestion, circulation regulation, and tissue repair are prioritized. This calming influence can reduce stress-related vascular dilation, indirectly supporting more efficient fluid movement during rest. What makes nighttime application particularly meaningful is posture. When the body lies horizontally, gravity no longer dominates circulation in the same way. Fluids that struggled to move upward during the day now encounter less resistance. In this context, Cypress oil does not have to fight gravity, it simply enhances the body's existing nighttime correction mechanisms. The result is not an aggressive draining of swelling, but a gradual re-education of vascular rhythm, allowing excess fluid to retreat naturally as the body sleeps and restores its internal balance. Rosemary essential oil enters the story of foot swelling through the subtle language of circulation and neural communication rather than forceful intervention. Swelling in the feet is often accompanied by sluggish microcirculation, where the smallest blood vessels struggle to deliver oxygen efficiently or clear metabolic waste. Over time, this stagnation can leave tissues feeling heavy, tight, and unresponsive. Rosemary contains naturally occurring aromatic compounds that interact with sensory receptors in the skin, creating a mild warming sensation that signals local blood vessels to gently open and respond. This response is not aggressive vasodilation, but a calibrated increase in blood flow that helps restore movement in areas where fluids have become static. The human body relies heavily on feedback loops, and rosemary works through these loops with remarkable elegance. When applied at night, the scent alone can influence the limbic system, the brain's emotional and regulatory center, subtly shifting the nervous system toward clarity and calm. This neurological response can reduce excessive sympathetic activity, which often keeps blood vessels in a semi-constricted, inefficient state during stress. As the nervous system settles, circulation becomes more organized, allowing blood and lymph to move with greater efficiency through tissues that were compressed and fatigued throughout the day. At the tissue level, improved microcirculation plays a crucial role in fluid balance. Capillaries are responsible for both delivering nutrients and reclaiming excess fluid. When circulation slows, fluid accumulates outside the vessels, contributing to visible swelling. Rosemary's influence on local blood flow can help restore this exchange, allowing capillaries to reabsorb fluid that would otherwise remain trapped in the interstitial space. This process is gradual and physiological, aligning with the body's natural preference for steady correction over abrupt change. Nighttime use amplifies this effect because metabolic priorities shift during sleep. The body reduces external demands and increases internal maintenance, including vascular repair and lymphatic movement. In this state, rosemary acts as a quiet catalyst, enhancing processes already underway rather than introducing a new demand. The feet, no longer bearing weight, become more receptive to subtle circulatory cues. Over repeated use, this nightly ritual can train tissues to respond more efficiently, reinforcing healthier blood flow patterns and reducing the tendency for fluid to settle in the lower extremities, allowing the body to move closer to equilibrium as it rests and renews itself. Himag works on foot swelling from the inside, addressing the biochemical conditions that allow fluid to accumulate in the first place. At the center of this process is magnesium, a mineral deeply involved in vascular regulation, muscle relaxation, and cellular fluid balance. Blood vessels are lined with smooth muscle fibers that must constantly adjust their tension to maintain proper pressure and flow. When magnesium levels are insufficient, these muscles tend to remain slightly contracted, narrowing the vessels and increasing resistance to blood returning from the feet toward the heart. This resistance encourages fluid to leak from capillaries into surrounding tissues, where it becomes visible as swelling. Magnesium also plays a critical role in electrolyte balance at the cellular level. Cells rely on tightly regulated gradients of sodium, potassium, and magnesium to control the movement of water in and out. When magnesium is low, sodium retention tends to increase, and where sodium goes, water follows. This creates a systemic tendency toward fluid retention, which becomes most apparent in gravity-dependent areas like the feet and ankles. By providing magnesium in a bioavailable form, Himag helps restore these gradients, allowing cells to release excess water back into circulation rather than holding onto it unnecessarily. There is a neuromuscular dimension as well. The rhythmic contraction of leg and foot muscles during the day acts as a secondary pump for venous and lymphatic return. Chronic tension, cramps, or fatigue in these muscles reduce this pumping efficiency. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation and recovery, allowing these tissues to fully release during rest and contract more effectively when needed. At night, relaxed muscles place less compressive pressure on veins and lymphatic channels, reducing obstruction and improving passive fluid movement while the body is still. Sleep is the body's primary window for recalibration, and magnesium aligns closely with this phase. Adequate magnesium availability supports parasympathetic nervous system activity, lowering stress hormones that otherwise promote fluid retention and vascular instability. As the nervous system settles, blood pressure regulation improves, vessels respond more appropriately, and the kidneys receive clearer signals to manage fluid balance. In this internal environment, swelling is not forcibly drained but gently corrected. The feet respond not because something was pushed out of them, but because the internal chemistry finally allows fluids to move where they were always meant to go, restoring a sense of lightness and balance as the body enters deeper restorative states. The direction of massage is far more than a comfort preference. It is a direct conversation with anatomy. Veins and lymphatic vessels in the legs are engineered to move fluid upward, relying on one-way valves that open and close in response to pressure. When massage follows this natural pathway, from the foot toward the knee, it reinforces the intended flow of these systems rather than working against them. Downward or random pressure can temporarily displace fluid, but upward strokes create a sustained mechanical signal that guides blood and lymph back toward central circulation, reducing the burden placed on the smallest vessels in the feet. Lymphatic circulation, in particular, depends almost entirely on external movement. Unlike the cardiovascular system, it has no central pump. Gentle pressure from massage acts as a substitute pump, compressing lymphatic vessels just enough to move fluid forward without collapsing them. This is why slow, rhythmic, upward strokes are more effective than deep or aggressive pressure. The goal is not to force fluid out of tissues, but to invite it into channels designed to carry it away. When this approach is used consistently at night, it supports the lymphatic system during a time when the body is already prioritizing detoxification and repair. There is also a neurological aspect to upward massage that often goes unnoticed. Touch activates mechanoreceptors in the skin that send signals to the brain, influencing autonomic nervous system activity. Slow, deliberate strokes toward the heart tend to promote parasympathetic dominance, reducing vascular resistance and calming inflammatory signaling. As the nervous system settles, blood vessels respond by regulating tone more efficiently, which further assists fluid movement. In this way, massage becomes both a mechanical and neural intervention, aligning physical movement with internal regulation. Muscle tissue also benefits from this directional approach. Tight or fatigued muscles can compress veins and lymphatic channels, acting like partial blockages. Upward massage helps lengthen and soften these tissues, reducing pressure on underlying vessels. As muscles release, pathways for fluid movement reopen, allowing accumulated swelling to gradually recede. This is particularly effective before sleep, when muscles naturally transition into a restorative state. Over time, the body learns from repeated patterns. When upward massage is practiced consistently, tissues become more responsive, valves function more efficiently, and the nervous system associates this ritual with rest and repair. The result is not a dramatic overnight change, but a steady retraining of circulation, where fluid movement becomes smoother, more predictable, and less prone to pooling in the feet as the body settles. Wrapping the foot and calf with an ACE bandage introduces a principle that modern medicine and physiology both respect: controlled compression. Swelling develops when fluid escapes from blood vessels into surrounding tissue faster than it can be returned to circulation. Gentle compression reduces the available space for this fluid to accumulate, subtly increasing interstitial pressure so excess fluid is encouraged back into venous and lymphatic channels. This is not about tightness or restriction, but about creating a supportive external environment that mirrors what healthy muscle tone would normally provide. The lower leg is especially vulnerable to fluid pooling because it sits at the far end of the circulatory system, where pressure gradients are weakest. During sleep, muscle movement largely stops, removing one of the body's natural pumping mechanisms. Compression from an ACE bandage partially replaces this lost function by maintaining consistent pressure along the foot and calf. When applied from the foot upward toward the calf, the pressure gradient supports upward fluid movement rather than trapping fluid below. This aligns with the anatomical design of veins and lymphatic vessels, which depend on progressive pressure changes to keep fluid moving in the correct direction. There is also an important interaction between compression and vascular valves. Veins in the legs contain one-way valves that prevent backflow, but these valves function best when the vessel walls are supported. Mild compression helps bring vessel walls closer together, improving valve efficiency and reducing the likelihood of blood or lymph slipping backward into the feet. This mechanical assistance becomes particularly valuable overnight, when the body is still and circulation relies more on passive forces than active movement. Compression also influences tissue signaling. When fluid pressure in tissues decreases, inflammatory mediators are diluted and cleared more efficiently. Reduced inflammation improves capillary integrity, making vessels less prone to leakage the following day. Over time, this can lower the baseline tendency toward swelling, not just the visible edema present at bedtime. The nervous system responds as well, interpreting gentle compression as stability rather than stress, which can further reduce sympathetic activation and fluid retention. When used consistently and correctly, an ACE bandage becomes less of a treatment and more of a training tool. It teaches tissues, vessels, and valves how proper support feels, reinforcing healthier circulation patterns night after night. The swelling drains not because it is squeezed out, but because the body is finally given the structural cues it needs